Go.
Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by producer Zack Bloomquist, who's here. Producer Zack, whenever he's on, we give a little round of applause here.
Yes, sir.
To talk a little bit about the big moves that are happening here in the NFL. Devonte Adams to the Rams. We have DK Metcalf being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll have Jack's reaction to that tomorrow. And producer Zack's going to learn today. So with no Ziggy, no Jack. Ziggy's out down in Delaware. Producer Zack's going to get some lessons here on becoming an on-air talent. I think I could see a bright future for this guy.
You're all welcome to see my pretty face now.
And everyone in the comment section tell Zack to speak up. He likes his calming voice, but we're telling him like.
Well, I think we should ask them if they like my calming voices in the video.
That is so calm. It's too calm. It's too calm here. So here's how today's show is going to go. Zack and I are going to do a little bit on Devonte, a little bit on DK. Then we're going to get into some mailbag questions here from all the listeners. See, I see Eric from Wisconsin says Chris Godwin to Green Bay confirmed. I don't know what that, like, to me, we're in a state with the NFL today and tomorrow where you don't know what's, like, I know that you are talking about a hypothetical, but I can be easily fooled on this episode of the show. So at the end, we'll get into a little bit of where the Packers can look from here. And let me know, guys, am I being a little unfair in the thumbnail saying Packers nightmare? I'm not trying to, like, I know Aaron Jones went to the Vikings earlier today, or signed on with the Vikings again today, and that the Packers lost some big targets. I'm not trying to troll Packers fans. I genuinely sat back and thought, is this a nightmare scenario for the Packers? And to me, if I were a Packer fan, I really would have wanted DK or Davante Adams. So I kind of felt like it was. If I'm overreacting, yeah, okay. Okay. Jake Davis, holy overreaction by this channel and this idiotic fan base. Okay, my bad. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I was just thinking if I were a Packer fan, clearly I need to adjust the thumbnail. So let's react. Let's calm down here. Maybe we do need some of producer Zack's calming voice after all.
We always need producer Zack's calming voice.
I mean, that's a whisper right there. So Davante Adams, let's start with him. Okay, we'll get to the questions at the end here. Davante Adams, 2-year, $46 million deal with the Rams, $26 million guaranteed. Davante wanted to be on the West Coast. We also heard that DK wanted to be on the West Coast. I guess you can't always get what you want. First initial reaction to this, I think it's just phenomenal for the Rams. The Rams went from a team that were being rumored to lose Matthew Stafford a week and a half ago to now upgrading from Cooper Kupp to Davante Adams, keeping their quarterback who just had them 20 yards away from an NFC Championship appearance. And now they're in a position here where with this young and improving defense and young weapons around those two, I view them right now as the number 3 contender in the NFC. Behind the Eagles and the Lions, it's the Rams for me. Because I love what they got at quarterback. I think Stafford's the best in the NFC, and there are weapons everywhere. And when you combine that with Sean McVay, one of the best coaches in the sport, this is as dangerous a team as you get because you don't want to face them in the playoffs. Producer Zack, who has now become a talent, do you agree with that? Rams number 3 contender in the NFC?
Yes. Yeah, I'll agree with it for now. I just don't think Davante's going to be the same.
You don't think so?
I still think he's Hopkins. He's going to just go there. He's going to be mediocre at best, and that's all we're going to hear from him. And then we're going to hear, oh my God, why isn't Devonte doing better? All that fun stuff. And I honestly think he's going to be like Hopkins. He's going to show up here and there, and then that's all we're going to get from him.
It's an interesting, because I can see people saying that Devonte is going to be 32 during this season, 33 by the end of it, actually. I understand people who are looking at this and saying, this is an old receiver. And this is someone that is going to continue to break down. But I could see that happening on a team like the Jets. A team like the Rams, I think when you have McVay and you have someone passing like Matthew Stafford, I think that brings out the fountain of youth element to these sorts of guys. And I expect him. Davante's, speed was never the primary focus of his game. I think he uses his mind, getting off the line of scrimmage and
he's a route
separating.
runner.
Yeah, he's a route runner. And he's one of the best in the league. And he doesn't have the injuries of a Cooper Kupp. So maybe, do you think he's going to get hurt? Do you think he's going to get banged up?
Not even banged up.
Just slow down.
So you take I would think, and you can disagree with me if you want on this one, but the Jets wide receiving core as a whole, right, was better than, I'm going to say, the Rams, right? If we think, when it was Devonte, Garrett, I guess mostly Devonte and Garrett. Like I would
I
think,
think I'd rather have Puka and Devonte.
you'd rather have Puka, but okay, I'm saying at the time of it was Puka and Cup.
Okay.
And like
gotcha.
Puka and Cup versus Garrett and Devonte. Like who would you take?
I would probably take. I'd probably take the. Oh man, Puka's the best one out of all of them.
Right.
I would probably with Cup's injuries, I would have taken Devonte and Garrett.
And Garrett, right? So like, I feel like now Devonte, like, they focus more of their attention maybe on Garrett Wilson and stuff like that, and Devonte had his little moments here and there. But now he's going to the Rams.
Happen with Puka. I think I think you focus on Puka.
But he's still like, I still think teams are gonna be like, oh, it's Davante Adams still, and they're
There could be
gonna
that effect.
and yeah, it's gonna be the name effect where you're gonna double Devonte and Puka's gonna go off.
Yeah, well, that's why I think it's kind of the pick your poison where with Stafford and you're scheming these guys open with McVay. I think it's gonna be dangerous, man. I'd be so pumped up if I were a Rams fan, and I think it sets them up nicely where they're going to be able to like. This is an interesting thought I had about the Rams: is how many teams are in this position where you talk about what the Packers do, right? Where they have an older quarterback and then they draft someone to bring up over the course of a few seasons. I was trying to think to myself, what if the Rams, and this is why I wish Jack was here, what if the Rams loved Jackson Dart, right? Or one of these quarterbacks, and early on in the draft, they're picking 26. If they went Jackson Dart at 26, and Rams fans, this is all hypothetical, okay? So I don't want people getting on me like, we're a contender, we got to build. But if they love Jackson Dart, forget what you think about him. Think if the Rams loved him and they took him there. This is a great, like, this team is built so well to contend now and then be able to remain a good team for years to come because they have that young defense. They have the young running back. They have the young receiver. That's why I think Devonte is perfect here, is because you have, like, he's just slotting into a win now situation where they can also project to be good for another 5, 6, 7 years if they can find the replacement for Stafford, who I still think is going to go another 2, maybe 3 seasons. So it's like, it's a great spot to be if you're a Rams fan. Yeah, right here we have Ore Ashama. I'm a Rams fan. I'm so hyped. Our young core is so good. That's exactly what I mean, man. You got a great young core, and you got the older guys who are there. Like, I love this Rams team for next season. I think they're not even a dark horse Super Bowl contender. They're right up there to me.
I don't know. I just can't believe. I just don't believe it yet. Like I feel like they're gonna go into the season very overhyped. You know what? I see? I see the Dolphins.
Here we go. This is what I want to see. I want to see this angry.
This is what I'm gonna see. I see the Dolphins. Right? Like coming into this year, all the hype was behind us. Oh, we're going to be amazing, going to be great. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle. And then we sucked.
But you know the difference to me between the Rams and the Dolphins is I trust Matthew Stafford, and I think you agree with this, so much more than Tua when it matters. And Tua, I feel bad because I don't want to get on Tua too much. I think he's a really good quarterback who has played really well. Zach, think about the Dolphins situation for your whole life. It's been miserable until Tua showed up. Like, at least you're contending now. So Tua has had his faults, and he has had moments where you need him to be better, especially in big game situations against good teams. I don't want to get on him too much, but if you're going to tell me in a playoff game, you're going into Philly, Matthew Stafford can win that game. Tua's, who knows what happens in that snow game?
No, we know. We saw it this.
We know.
Did we see it this year? Yeah, we saw it this year, right?
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah, we saw it this year. We got
2 years ago. 2 years ago, yeah.
Was it 2 years?
But
we
I
saw
thought
it, though.
2 years ago, no, he threw. Oh, yeah, he blew up in the second half. Yeah,
we saw it. We've seen it. I've seen it. I've had enough of Tua. But this isn't about Tua. We're about Stafford.
Yeah, you're right. Back to Stafford. Stafford, Devonte. It hurts Green Bay because I really thought this was a perfect fit, having Devonte go back to the Packers, and Christian Watson's out for such a long time next season. Really nicely slots in as the alpha receiver there. Jaden Reed is an unbelievable number 2. I mean, you could still hope Jaden Reed becomes the number 1. But as far as the Rams go, before we wrap up Devonte here, again, I think they're just in a prime position to be right up there. Like, if you're tiering the NFC right now, I put the Rams on the same level as the Eagles and Lions. Is that crazy? You think that's a little too high, but
yes.
Let me know. Let's know in the comment section here. I think that I put the Rams right there. That defense, that defensive line, like, it's gonna be sick. with Verse and Fisk. I mean, they are Bryant. Like, they're ready to roll. And they have draft picks. The Rams never have first-round picks. They have that pick. I think if you're a Rams fan, and Ziggy, or at one point was a Rams fan, that part of him that's still there is excited. Let's go on to DK Metcalf now, okay? And the Packers talk is coming in just a second, where we could have some mailbag questions and interact with the chat a little bit. Appreciate everybody who is logging on. I know it's a Sunday night. Appreciate producer Zack coming over on a Sunday night to do a little bit of the show. Feels like the regular season, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're back on. So if you're enjoying these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get out as much content as we can right now. DK Metcalf, traded by the Seahawks, who have officially blown it up. They listened to what we said. They traded Geno. They got rid of Tyler Lockett. They traded DK. They've blown it up. Maybe even more than we thought they probably had to.
I mean, they ruined their whole team.
Yeah,
There's nobody. There's nobody.
It's over. They traded DK to Pittsburgh for a 2025 second-round pick. Pittsburgh then turned around and gave DK a 5-year, $150 million deal, which would now place him at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sixth in the league, 7th in the league, or tied for 4th, actually, making $30 million a year. I thought I saw something that said it was $33 million a year. I didn't read too much into it. Regardless, DK's being paid like an elite receiver. You could make the argument, and a lot of people in the comment section have right now, that this is an overpay for DK, who's 27 years old right now. You got him for 5 more years. This is where Ziggy would be great breaking down the contracts. But just at first glance, I look at Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, Tyreek Hill, and Ayuk. I think that there's a definite gap between those first 4 guys, Jefferson, Lamb, Brown, Amon-Ra. I'm sorry, I'll also include Tyreek. And then to Ayuk and DK. So this is just like we're seeing the quarterback effect move into receivers now, where these receivers are going to be making crazy money. And that just might be the rate of top-end receivers. Whether you think DK is up to you. But this is a big deal for DK Metcalf, who at times is unstoppable. And I'm excited to see him pair up with George Pickens. And whoever's throwing the ball in Pittsburgh gets a huge addition. What were your first thoughts, Zach?
You want to hear my real first thought?
Yeah, real first thoughts.
Actually, your real first thought is what I put in the chat immediately. I said, who is going to throw to him? You're paying this guy $150 million, and is Justin Fields going to be the guy for them all of a sudden? It's not Russ. We'd already know they don't want Russ. I'd understand like if they already had like what we did. We'll bring it back to Tua.
You can always bring it back to the Dolphins.
Actually, it comes back to the Tua, but it comes back to like Joe Burrow. It comes back to everybody. It's like you get your quarterback and then you find them an elite receiver. I feel like they're doing the opposite effect of what everybody's doing. Is they found this elite receiver who's either going to be washed away and gave him $150 million because they couldn't find a quarterback that they liked. And what do you? I don't know. I just don't like. I like finding the quarterback first and go out and find the elite receiver that's up and coming again.
I don't necessarily think you're wrong that if you don't have if you don't have the quarterback, you're not doing anything, and that's been the problem for Pittsburgh for what Jack would tell you now. Like 8 years, they haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. Is that it? It's crazy for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it just shows the importance of the position. So I am with you. If they don't find a quarterback, or if Justin Fields doesn't pan out, I'm kind of thinking Fields is going to be the guy. Mm-hmm. Then all of this is just, you're using a lot of money and you still haven't found the answer. Maybe they're even, Jack wants them to draft Jackson Dart. So they clearly have more work to do there to get out of this purgatory that they've been in. Because I think what's worse than being just terrible and having these top picks is being that 8 and 9 every year, where you're stuck in hell and you just can't you can't build because you don't have good enough draft picks and you're not being aggressive enough to go after guys. It's a weird spot for Pittsburgh, but I do think that at the end of the day, if you're just looking at DK Metcalf, there's still superstar potential there. He has monster games. And
I was just about to ask you, do you feel DK's a game-changing player?
That's the question.
That's always been my question with DK. He'll go and make that flashy play here and there, but is he a Chase? Is he a Justin Jefferson?
Because that's what he's getting paid like now.
That's what he's getting paid like now. And look, maybe now that he's not going to be overshadowed by. Actually, I don't know who he'd be overshadowed by. I guess the Seahawks have just never been a very good team. Now he's on the Steelers, who are not a very good team this year, but like
great organization.
Great organization, yes, great organization, but haven't been very good these last couple of years. Like I don't know if DK is going to do Justin Jefferson stuff.
Well, that's I don't think he's Jefferson or Lamb, but let us know in the comments section what you think. And I think you're starting to see that here. Yeah, Synchronos says DK is not consistent. Like, what do you think of DK Metcalf? Does he scare you? And that's when the rumors were he was going to the Packers, I was thinking in my mind, would I be scared to face DK Metcalf? And the answer is actually yes. Like going into those games, I'd be going, all right, DK can take over. There aren't a lot of players who can take over any given game. And like I don't think he's that top tier 1 receiver, but he's in that tier 2. And when he plays well, he can reach that tier 1. I get nervous about DK, and maybe if he's in a better environment, they need the quarterback before. Like Geno Smith is better than what's in Pittsburgh right now at this very moment. So, I think you raise a great point here that until they get the quarterback, it's fun in games, but you're not ready to contend. You just have a great team that's ready once they get the quarterback. Right. But him and Pickens will be fun.
You know what my problem, I think, also with DK is? And I think it's more or less just the dying breed in football now is he's a 50-50 ball guy. Like, I was just reading the chat, and everybody's like, he's a 50-50 ball guy. Like, I feel like a 50-50 ball guy nowadays is worthless or feels worthless in the NFL now. Like, now it's you either get a really fast guy or a very good route runner. And, like, the 50-50 ball guy just flies away. And
I think the ideal guy that you want like that is kind of AJ Brown like, right? Like AJ Brown's like one of those guys, and AJ Brown is awesome. I don't want to make it sound like AJ Brown can't run. He's amazing. But when you have one of those big-bodied, strong receivers, like AJ Brown is like that's the guy right now to me. And I think DK Metcalf has that type of stardom in him. Although AJ would be on that top tier receiver group. But again, you got to find that quarterback. But I think for Steelers fans, they're going to be pumped. Like they're going to be. Jack was saying we're going to be unstoppable, and I would say wait till you find the guy to throw. But DK, he's had his moments in Seattle. I think Seattle again made the right decisions here, recognizing that they had a capped ceiling with the current roster. It's one that Pittsburgh is sort of the Seahawks of the AFC to me, where they just continuously get to that 8 or 9 win total. Can't really win a playoff game, and you have to eventually wake up and say, we need to change something here. I don't think they're going to do that this offseason. Like, they might go get Darnold, and I think Darnold, now that would be interesting. If the Steelers got Darnold, what do you think? With DK and Pickens.
I think they'd be good, but again
capped.
I think they'd be. I'm gonna be honest. They'll sit at 8 and 9, 9 and 8.
That's probably it,
right? Like
that's probably it.
I don't think putting Sam Darnold on there and DK put him to the next. Look, maybe. Okay, I'll say this: maybe he gets the extra 2 wins to make the playoffs. But again, I don't see him going.
You see that?
I see the same thing over again. You'll make the playoffs and you lose again, all over again.
Yeah. No, it's the problem of when you don't have a quarterback. And that's why when we were talking about Brock Purdy the other day, and I said if I were the 49ers, I wouldn't pay him the money. You and Jack are sitting back, you're going like, hey, if you move on, you're in this dilemma that a lot of teams find themselves in and can't get out of it for a long time, where you have where you just need to find that quarterback. So, all right, let's get into some of the Packers talk here. I know that a lot of people in the chat are big Packers fans. What does this mean for Green Bay? Who I really thought if you had told me yesterday, will Davante Adams or DK Metcalf be a Packer? I would have said 100% one of the two of them. I've been waiting the entire offseason now for that Packer reaction video. I'm waiting around. The cameras are set up. I'm ready to react as soon as the Packers make that big move. So I was really surprised tonight that neither of the names wound up being the Green Bay Packers in these situations here. And an interesting note, I saw Andy Herman put out, the Steelers had the 52nd pick in the draft. The Packers had the 54th pick. So who knows if Green Bay was willing to give up that second-round pick to make the move for DK? But remember what we heard all the rumors were? It was Green Bay trading a second-round pick and either Wicks or Dobbs for Metcalf. So if that was the rumored projection here, it seems like that would have worked. If the Steelers only gave up pick 52 and the Packers could have given up 54 and one of the receivers, it sounds like if you're Seattle, you would take the Green Bay deal. So who knows? Like, I guess we'll find out whether or not the Packers were willing to do it. But what's going on here? Matchy 430. You don't know ball, Paul. What's going on? I didn't see his. Did Darnold go to the Hawks? Did something happen here? Yeah, I haven't seen that. I don't know. Again, it's going to be one of those episodes where people just start dropping in stuff. I might believe it because this is the point in time where you don't know what's going to happen. No, I'm just getting messed up with here. So going back to that, to me, if the Packers were willing to give that offer to Seattle, I think the Seahawks would have taken it. So I'm guessing they didn't want to move on from that much capital in the pick and one of their receivers. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think here, whether or not you would have done that if you were the Packers. From Paul Hill here, and drop questions in, guys. We're willing to answer any Packers questions or really any of the questions. Paul Hill says, why is this a Packers nightmare? Explain, guys. We've dodged the bullet paying players who just wanted money and not passion. I'm glad the Packers haven't picked up these players. Paul, I think it's the reason I decided to put Packers nightmare is because I'm thinking what receiver takes that offense to the next level, right? That's what the Packers, we know they have a great roster, but they're missing a star edge rusher and they're missing a star receiver. And now with Jair leaving, they're going to need to find some cornerback help as well. But I thought, to me, what would scare me if I'm playing the Packers? If they got a Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, one of those dudes, or if they got an elite receiver to naturally bump down all of the guys that they have right now into a more natural position. And I thought Metcalf and Adams were good fits there. I agree with you that if I were a Packer fan, I wouldn't want to pay DK that money. So I'd be more okay with that. That actually might be the reason you didn't see a trade is Green Bay actually said we don't want to take on this contract. Devonte, though, I'd be bummed out about because I thought he was the best option that they had. And now you look at the rest of the receivers there, and do you want to go after Stephon Diggs? Do you want to go after Chris Godwin or Cooper Kupp? Maybe. I just don't think they have the exact. Oh my gosh, look at this! You got to be kidding me here. This is unbelievable. All right, Lauren, you're gonna have to turn on. Would you mind? My sister's down here. Would you mind turning on that television right here, Lauren? Because we have a special guest joining in the show. This is unbelievable. See the TV right there?
Yeah.
Can you go and hit the button to just turn it on? It's in the back right behind the red light. All right, everyone in the comment section is about to be really happy here. Just push the button.
Push the button. Push it in.
Just push the button.
It looks like a little knob.
You go behind the red light. There's no red light.
All right.
No. It's like
right
a
here?
yeah.
Yep. Push that button.
Don't worry, y'all. I got
All right.
it.
All right. Now out of the shot.
I'm not in
Let the star come in here.
I can't see. So
Yeah.
I
People are
don't know
starting
what
to
you
be able to
expect from
tell
me
here. This is elite. Although I'm
You
not going to be able to hear him until I get a headset set up.
The YouTube's way behind. I'm trying to
All right.
line up
Zach,
on the
you got
basis
it
of
here?
YouTube.
Yeah.
There he is. Look at this.
I can't see.
Robert Ziggy Ziegler,
Oh.
everyone. He's
There we go.
here.
There we go.
This is
We're here.
unbelievable.
We're here.
Ziggy, I'm going to get a headset so I could hear you. Zach, would you mind throwing Ziggy up on the full screen? So that, look at the chat here is popping off. The viewership's going to go through the roof. Ziggy, all right. Start rambling for a few minutes. Let me get a headset so I can hear you.
Okay, so I have to say, shocker, I was right about absolutely everything this offseason. Myles Garrett, there wasn't a chance he was leaving Cleveland. DK Metcalf, there wasn't a chance he was heading to Green Bay. We just got a bunch of news. I'll be honest. I got a text from Paul. I'm visiting family right now. And he said, have you seen what's going on? And I said, no. And I'm looking at all this news, and I barely understand what's going on. Davante Adams is a Ram. So I guess they're going all in. Josh Allen is now the richest man in the history of the world. He's going to buy an NFL team pretty soon, I guess. The Packers suck per usual. They're not getting any interesting free agents. I don't know. I don't know what else you expect here. It's the NFL.
That's all you got for us, Ziggy? You come in here and that's all we
Well,
got?
what
We
do
don't
I
got
think?
any more
I mean,
excitement
I'll say
coming off
this.
for you?
I think this DK
This
deal is
guy.
horrendous. I mean, we haven't seen exactly how the money's distributed, so we're gonna have to see. I don't know what Pittsburgh's doing with that one. Green Bay shouldn't want any part of that. I'm sure that's what Paul was saying.
That's what I was saying at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Paul. We can talk about this. I get that Packers fans are going to be upset. And as a Vikings fan, I'm happy to sit back here and say the Packers didn't get a player who would have improved their team this year. But I think we saw today a bunch of deals that teams in one way or another are going to regret.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett, he's a great player. I get that the Browns couldn't move on, but I think that deal financially makes very little sense. We saw Von Miller get cut today. We saw how that deal aged. DK Metcalf, again, I want to see the guarantees, right? Because this might be one of those deals where there's guaranteed money up front, then heavily escalating salary near the end. But I think he's getting at least most of that. He wanted a huge raise and he got it. I don't know. Like, the Steelers do not seem like the team that should be paying DK Metcalf. Am I crazy here?
I see. Here's what when I was talking right before you hopped on, I was saying that DK, I think he still has something in the tank here. Like he has the ability to ascend up to superstar level every now and then. He's just inconsistent. So when you look at the Steelers and you have him with George Pickens, that's a great situation. And Zach said, but you need the quarterback. So until you have the quarterback, like, that's a huge contract to pay DK. I'm with you there where, like, if I were a Steelers fan, I understand the excitement. But until you have the guy, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
You know who the single biggest loser today was, Paul?
Single biggest loser. I'm assuming the Bengals.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was the Bengals.
There we go. Nice.
We got Myles Garrett resetting non-quarterback money. You got DK Metcalf signing. For the record, this DK Metcalf deal is almost as big as the Justin Jefferson deal.
That's what we were saying.
To give you an idea of
$5
what he's
million
being
less.
paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's DK Metcalf's a good player, but he's older. He has an injury history. He has an attitude history. If you don't follow the Steelers, you may not realize this, but he's almost as bad as George Pickens. He's just better at football than George Pickens, so he gets away with it. Like, these are the kinds of deals. Something I say almost every offseason. Every offseason I say this. Most free agency deals are a net negative. Most deals where you're making a big trade, like giving up a second-round pick to pay DK Metcalf, are net negatives. I saw a lot of deals today that I think are going to be net negatives. The Davante Adams deal was less bad just because there's an escape hatch after the first year, and you're just doing one last ride of Stafford. So I totally get what they're up to there.
Oh, I love that.
But
I love that move.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a ton of sense. Again, I'm going to need to see the details on the DK contract, but given what he was asking for in the trade and the fact the Seahawks wouldn't match it, this ties him for one of the 5 highest paid wide receivers in the entire NFL.
Yep, it's nuts.
Getting a second round pick in a salary dump, I think, is unreal.
I love what Seattle's doing. We've talked about it all offseason. We said they need to wake up, smell the roses, and move on here from this era that was good. It wasn't a bad era of Seahawks football. It was just a limited one, right? There was no problem with going 9-8, 8-9, and going on some runs. But you have to realize,
but there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem, and they addressed that. I loved some of these comments when you joined. Midwest Mountain Man goes, "Daddy's home." Shirts coming off from Zeppelin. Real quick, just a couple of the super chats here that I want to shout out that we haven't. Without Ziggy, we miss out on the super chats here. Matchy430 said, DK's money, Adams left, go Pack go, not a nightmare. Nico says things. Please don't tell me this means the Packers pick up Deontay Johnson. This is where this ends up, isn't it? No, you're not going to. The Packers are not going to get Deontay Johnson. I'd be very surprised if they went that route. Ryu Hitsuya, someone talk about cheerleaders. I told you, Paul. Well, Jack's not here. That makes it a problem. Ryu Hitsuya, also, I can summon Zach with enough cheerleader talk. If you comment enough, you will get some. Brett Buchan says, Ziggy when you enter the chat. And then from Pony's Picks, Mitch, Packers not getting free agents. Name how many years the Packers signed anyone significant from free agency. Last 35 years. How many? Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney. But no, I get what you're saying. They're not typically an organization that makes these huge moves, especially at the receiver position. Did you think it was a stretch?
I think with this deal, like I wondered last offseason, you saw, as he said, the McKinney deal, the Josh Jacobs deal. I wonder if this is going to be a new era for the Packers. And I think it is a little bit, but they're doing what Dallas has been promising to do for years. Namely, they're being aggressive when they see an opportunity, but they're not biting when it's too expensive. It's unclear to me, frankly, that DK Metcalf on his own is worth a second-round pick at a reasonable contract. I think at an unreasonable contract, giving up a second-round pick is outrageous. The Packers are going to be a smart team, and unfortunately, being a smart team sometimes means not doing the thing that you want them to do in the offseason. But I'll tell you what, after this year, Packers fans are going to be grateful that they did not sign DK to this albatross.
So you think you think it was a stretch for me putting the title of this video Packers Nightmare?
I mean, here's why it's a nightmare. All of the things that would have made the Packers bona fide Super Bowl favorites next year, none of those are possible anymore. They can get better around the margins. They can improve the team. This team is not going to be substantially better in terms of talent next year than they were last year. Now, I think they can do more of that talent, right? I think last year was close to the floor with the level of talent they had between the injuries and developing players. I think they can do better. But if the hope was that the Green Bay Packers would be a significantly more talented team next year, that won't happen. And I think that's what, I mean, you can say this in the comments if you want. I think every single Packers fan wanted that to be what happened.
Yes, I think that is very well put, Ziggy. That Green Bay, and right before you hopped on, I was restating what we've been saying the whole offseason, that Green Bay is a couple superstars away from elevating to that next level. Like I actually said that, to me, I think the Rams are on that top tier of contenders next year with the Eagles and the Lions. With Matthew Stafford and the rest of that group, I think they're a great football team. For the Packers to be on that level, in my opinion, they need a couple more dudes. And that could be someone stepping up. Like, you could have Lucas Van Ness emerge next year. You could have Jaden Reed elevate to that true alpha number one receiver, or Dontavian Wicks can take a step up. The opportunities are there for other guys, but you thought it was going to have to come in some major offseason move, and now they can still make some plays to improve the team, but I'm not sure that jump is going to be there from remember Khalil Mack going to the Bears when we were in college? You saw him go in and just completely change that franchise. The defense was unbelievable. I don't know if that's possible anymore. So I think you're totally right.
And I'll say this much. I know they're going to get connected with Trey Hendrickson now. I genuinely don't think
everyone's
that's going to
saying
happen
here.
for the amount of money. Yeah, that's just not going to happen for the amount of money he's going to be able to demand after these deals. I think this is a mistake from the Packers. And I think I'm not complaining about them not getting involved in any particular deal. I don't like any of these particular deals. But there have been times when great players have been available and they haven't made the move because they haven't wanted to give up the assets. I think the Rams have to be the model of an NFL franchise. When there's a window, they go all in. They use all their assets to maximize that window. And ultimately, if that hurts them in the long run, who cares? You did your best to win a Super Bowl with the talent that was there. Mm-hmm. Jordan Love is going to get expensive. And here's something I told you about. I texted you this a couple of days ago. You were going to see exactly what Green Bay thought about Jordan Love this offseason internally. Because if they thought Jordan Love was 100% the guy, they could be in on these moves and count on restructuring Jordan Love's contract well into the future in order to pay for it. Right, next year, yep. So not this upcoming season, the next one after, his cap hits $36 million, then 44, then 75. If you think he's the guy, you can restructure that. There's things you can do to move the money around and be able to afford getting in on a guy like Trey Hendrickson, getting in on a guy like DK Metcalf. If you're not 100% he's the guy, you can't tie yourself up in those huge deals because you'll be in cap hell like the Saints.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah, all that to say, I wonder, I'm not saying the sky's falling in Green Bay. I wonder if this tells you, though, that internally they're not 100% sold that Jordan Love can lead this team to a Super Bowl. Because if you are 100% that he is the guy who can do that, I think you have to be in on some of these moves.
You just see, I love this in the comment section of like, all right, let's chill out. Free agency hasn't started, and Ziggy's out here saying that Jordan Love is no longer believed in Green Bay. It's look,
Here, what free agent is available that's going to make this team better? This is the worst free agency class of my lifetime. Every single even remotely good free agent is being extended by their team or signing an outrageous deal or being traded for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Paul Hill says, would you rather go full out for the Super Bowl? People are booing. Would you rather go full out for the Super Bowl or establish yourself? And look, I get what you're saying. The Packers like to draft, and this is a lot of the comments in here are saying that the Packers are a team that develops. I understand that. I just think that they can still develop while taking that shot. You know what I mean? Like, you still have a ton of guys you can develop.
You know who developed a bunch of guys? The Rams. And they used the players they developed to push them to a Super Bowl with a couple big moves.
Pony's Picks again says, Gary sucked, then got super solid. Adam dropped, then got amazing. Lucas and one of the receivers, you never know. Draft and develop is what they do. And this is something, now we hate Ziggy from Zeppelin. This is one thing about the Packers, though, that a lot of the fans in here right now are expressing the similar thoughts. They do a great job of staying true to their identity, as you just said. Like, they know who they are, they know what they want to do, and they don't overreact. Even the Packers fans here, I think in general, most of you guys seem to have pretty calm heads about this. You're looking at this and you're saying, hey, we don't want to pay DK Metcalf. I wonder if anyone calls him decaf. $150 million a year. Right? There are a lot of teams. I know if the Vikings were in on DK, oh my God, DK, that I would be looking at this going, damn it. I wish we could have got this guy. But Packers fans typically do a very nice job of keeping their head on their shoulders. Maybe you guys will disagree with that, but they stay true to who they are, and that's why they're so successful year in and year out.
Yeah. Here's the signing that baffles me. You're missing out on it. And unless they had no chance on on Davante Adams because of their history with him, I think the Rams signed Davante Adams to the ideal deal of a team that's trying to go in next year and isn't too worried about the long-term consequences, but also doesn't want to cripple their team. That Davante Adams contract can't cripple a team. But you also don't see the Packers approaching it like the Bills, where the Bills have been proactive in managing the salary cap and adding talent around Josh Allen every step of the way. They're always early, right? They ask Von Miller to take a pay cut early. They extend Josh Allen with this mega deal early because they know the price only goes up on great players. It feels like the Packers aren't proactive or reactive. It feels like they just sit there a lot of the time.
Well, that would drive me crazy as a fan. And I think you are seeing some of that from the fan base here. Well, real quick, I just want to talk Trey Hendrickson for a second. Trey Hendrickson had, 17 sacks this season? He was like the shining star on the Bengals defense that was just putrid. You talk about players that would scare me, right? We said, would DK Metcalf scare me if he joined the Packers this year? Probably to a degree. But would Myles Garrett? Terrified. Don't want to see that. Max Crosby? Terrified.
You couldn't get Myles Garrett.
Don't want to see that. But I'm just saying, those are the guys. Trey Hendrickson fits the terrified label. If he goes to the Packers, it changes everything. You see that with star edge rushers. You see that with guys who can just blow up a game plan. It makes everyone else better because the corners look better. If you're sacking the quarterback, if you're getting to him in a few seconds here, the linebackers have an easier job. The other pass rushers, everyone gets better when you have a star like that. If Trey Hendrickson is available, the Packers they have to be interested. They have to be in on that.
But here's why I don't think they will. You know who will find a way to make the money for Trey Hendrickson? Howie Roseman and the Eagles.
the Eagles.
Like this thing, they understand. This is, I think, is what makes their front office so dangerous and why they were able to do what I would have thought was impossible: lose a franchise quarterback who you just signed to a record-setting contract and not miss a step in contention. They know their windows extremely well. They know when it's time to go in on players and when it's time not to, when you let players go, when you extend them. The Eagles find a way to pay guys, and the Packers, it feels like, often just don't. And that means the Packers are very rarely caught with their pants down in a deal. But the really good teams, what they do is they put themselves in a position of risk, and then they move on immediately when it doesn't work. The Rams did this with Jonah Jackson, right? That was a risky signing. It was a disaster. Ship him off to Chicago. Make him Ryan Poles and the Bears problem. The Eagles do this really well. Carson Wentz, he signed to an enormous deal. Ship him off to Indianapolis. Make him the Colts problem. Like Trey Hendrickson, I don't even know if he's available because I've never seen a player who's like in a holdout say, all I want to do is go to Cincinnati. Please don't trade me. And the Bengals are saying, no, 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 you find a trade partner, man. Like, we don't want you anymore. Like, it's a very strange situation.
Is the age a concern? He's 30 years old.
You sign a deal that's risky, and if it doesn't work out, you move on. But honestly, if I'm picking contenders to go to, right, I'm Trey Hendrickson, I can't stay with the team I want. The Eagles are going to be better than the Packers if you're joining them.
Yeah, no,
like,
I mean,
it's true.
I mean, yeah, but I'm looking at this situation. If you're Trey Hendrickson, you have your list of teams, right? I'm sure the Eagles are on there. I'm sure the Packers are on that short list. Like, then there's a variety of factors here. I'm not sure. Does he have, based on his contract here, what is it? Does he have like a player veto, or like what's the situation?
No trade clauses are extremely rare in the NFL. The Bengals can send him wherever they want.
Okay.
But here's the leverage he does have is he doesn't have to re-sign with anybody.
Yes. Okay.
So he can say, you can trade what you want. You're only getting me for a year.
Yes. Okay. So he could do that. But then there's also like, where does he want to live? Right. So there's all these situations that can go into it. I don't know if he has family in certain places like that. That's all external here. The teams, though, like the Packers, should at least be inquiring on that and looking into it.
I'll tell you, if you're a Packers fan, you'd better hope that Chris Godwin doesn't re-sign with the Buccaneers.
Oh, I love.
Genuinely, I do not see a single additional free agent available that can be a difference maker for them. And the fact that Chris Godwin was the only difference maker available in free agency means I think you probably can't get him.
Well, it's starting to look more and more like Godwin's gonna go. And I saw the Broncos. So. I saw the Broncos are a team he's being linked to right now. But Chris Godwin, before that injury, was having arguably the best season of his career. Like, people forget that.
Perennially
he's
underrated.
Awesome. Oh, he is so good. And no one talks about him as one of the better receivers in football. If you the only way you know how good Chris Godwin, Zach, do you know the only way you know how good Chris Godwin is?
How?
If he's on your fantasy team.
Oh, I know.
If he's on your fantasy team, you know how good he is.
I had him and Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Oh, can I respond to a super chat that's critical here from
please.
Let him know, Ziggy.
This is Ziggy. The Packers always get out a year early from everyone they let go. They're never in cap hell. Why are you crapping over them over what they've done forever? I agree that Packers do a great job of managing what they have. My complaint is that the Packers could be more aggressive and deal with jettisoning those guys off if it doesn't work. The reason the Packers are never in cap hell is because they never sign guys that are risky to sign. They only make additions they're certain will be good for them, and they have a million outs.
It is fun every now and then.
You have to do something risky to win a Super Bowl. You do.
I'm with you. Every now and then it's fun because, at the end of the day, we are Vikings fans, and Zach's a Dolphins fan. And I know like the Packers are our biggest audience, so it's fun because normally, we all get along great. Like that's something I love about this channel is the interactions we have with everyone who's commenting. But every now and then, we do clash heads a little bit. And they're seeing right here, in Matt Eldridge, you guys are acting like the Packers window is closing. It really hasn't even opened yet. Calm down, LOL. We're not saying it's closing. Like that's not what we're saying. We're saying the window is open, so like jump through it and go make a move that can put you in the contention with the very top teams. Because who'd you lose to last year? The Vikings twice, the Lions twice, the Eagles twice. You lost to the top teams. So go get a move that puts you go do a move that puts you on their level.
Let them know, Paul.
No, and I don't want to hear. Here's something Packers fans are going to say. They're going to say it's a young team. We should just sit back and let guys develop. The Rams were consistently one of the youngest teams in the NFL, but young teams don't stay young forever. Starting next year, the Packers have to pay. Right now, going into 2026, the Packers have $60 million in cap space and 27 players on their active roster. You have so many guys that you are going to need to extend coming into the future years, right? You look at the guys who are likely to be free agents for Green Bay or whether they have to extend going into 2026. It's enormous. Like the Packers don't have the young team excuse when Jordan Love is on a mega deal.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Guys who you have to think about next year, just to name a few: Quay Walker, Devonte Wyatt, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Bo Melton, Isaiah Dunn, Zach Tom, Trey Hill, Rasheed Walker. Like so many guys on that team are free agents in 2026. I mean, more, right? But Sean Ryan, he's up.
Ziggy, what I do want to say,
Enigbar.
While saying this about the Packers and wanting them to be aggressive, I'm with everyone here who's saying it's like don't. And you said it when you first joined. don't make the move that's stupid, right? And I think they generally do a pretty good job of that. Like you said, they don't get caught with their pants down. It's just, if, like, I'm talking Trey Hendrickson here, if you have the opportunity, go for it. Like try and win the Super Bowl. And it's a risk. At the end of the day, some of these moves are risks, and they work out every once in a while. And when they do, like trading for Matthew Stafford and going in on Matthew Stafford for the Rams, there was some risk involved in that, right? To a degree. Or Jared Goff trading away Matthew Stafford to the Rams. Like, there's always risks in trades and signings, but when it works out, man, it looks really good. Someone else had a comment here. Derek After Dark said, Vikings have the receivers but no QB. That's the real nightmare. You're right. That, like, I'd rather be in the Packers situation than the Vikings right now without having the quarterback. But that's part of the reason why I think Packers fans are right to say we're too conservative, is you have the quarterback. So go do it. Go do it. That's exactly the situation we were talking about with the Steelers. If the Steelers had the quarterback, you'd be like, hey, DK, let's roll. But they don't.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, is people will say, well, you got so many, we're seeing this in the comments right now, you got so many free agents coming up. Why would you sign anybody? Because you can't keep them all anyway. This is the next year, this upcoming season is the best chance the Packers will have to win a Super Bowl for 2 or 3 years. It just is. And it could be longer than that. So I don't know. If you're telling me that you're afraid to, like, pay Davante Adams some money because maybe he's a little bit washed up, the dude's still got gas in the tank. If you have to cut him next year and lose $12 million in cap space, so be it. There's ways to create money. The Eagles are good at this. They know exactly when they need to pay their guys and always have just enough. Like, yeah, I'm not saying the Packers are like the worst front office in the sport, or they're like a terrible franchise, or they're a bunch of bums, or whatever.
Not at all.
The Packers have a good front office. But there's a reason next year in the middle of the season, you are going to see some of these players being great. And every Packers fan is going to wonder, why didn't we make a move?
Yeah, I mean, it just happens sometimes. And the Eagles make these aggressive moves, and it has worked out very nicely. Jalen Carter has been amazing. A.J. Brown has been amazing. But they see that these star players are available, and they go after them. And it's Saquon Barkley. When you have guys like that are just damn good football players on the market, yeah, if you add up enough of them, you're gonna have a really good football team. And that's what the Eagles have done. And that's what the Rams did, and it paid off for them, right? They went after Jalen Ramsey. They went after Stafford. They made aggressive move after aggressive move, and it won them a Super Bowl. If that didn't work, oh well. And look where they are now. Just a few years later, they're back in it. So you can get out of it if you're a smart organization, and the Packers are a smart organization.
No, and I get it. I'm not trying to pick on the Sky Ponies pick. Saying that the fact that they were never going to do it means that, like, we shouldn't be criticizing them for not doing it. I'm not surprised they didn't bring in any of these guys, but the fact that they wouldn't and that's not their philosophy doesn't mean they're right.
I love seeing Ponies picks with the all caps here. I'm just imagining, like how these sports debates go, and when you see sports analysts yelling at each other with the all caps. They didn't do that, Ziggy. It's what I'm saying. So it's look, everyone likes their team. So it's awesome to see that everyone's passionate about this.
Yeah, you can say there's going to be players available at the trade deadline. They can have people. You have no idea. You just have no idea what will be available. And I will tell you, if a player has a standout year, if they outperform their contract, they won't be available.
Mm-hmm.
The only guys who are available at the trade deadline are guys who are underperforming what teams are paying them, or are coming from teams that are underperforming. It's like, look, Eric from Wisconsin says Packers Super Bowl 2027 on Valentine's Day. Love will be the MVP, maybe.
Funny.
But look, besides Chris Godwin, like, I don't think Josh Sweat is going to be a difference maker for the Packers. Is there a single free agent who even has a chance to be a difference maker on the level of Xavier McKinney or Josh Jacobs last year? It ain't Zadarius Smith, who just got cut by the Lions. He can't be a difference maker for them. Like, what free agent is available that could be a difference maker?
That's the question right there. So we'll see if they wind
up. The
The
Packers will not be a more talented team next year. That is the headline. That is why it is the Green Bay nightmare. Everybody who could have made this team better is somewhere else and is going to be on a team that's improving rather than getting worse. And this is the first time, actually, I think, in an offseason I've been frustrated with a team for not making moves. Like, Paul, you know this, right? I'm almost always very critical of teams that make moves because I think they're usually bad. But I don't understand why the Packers aren't doing more.
There's a couple names here being thrown out, and I think they think that it's valid. Someone says Stephon Diggs, Khalil Mack, Byron Murphy would be a huge ad. But when you're talking
Diggs
about,
is not a difference maker.
Well, here's the
anymore.
thing: if you talk about Stephon Diggs or Khalil Mack, you're relying on that rejuvenated season, which is possible, but it's unlikely. So, look, it's just you. If you had Myles Garrett or if you had Adams come in. And I think Garrett's a slam dunk home run, like the best you could possibly get. Devonte, you're still kind of in that, like you're hoping he still has it. But yeah, with those other guys, you're sort of hoping a little bit more. It is funny, free agency literally hasn't even started. Like it has not even started. But the two biggest names that were attached to you guys have now, or three if you want to include Garrett in there, but have now cemented themselves with another team. That's what Ziggy's saying here. All right, we won't go on too long here because I know Ziggy. You are, they're not all 10s, buddy. Because Ziggy, I know you're down in Delaware. I said DC off the top of the show, by the way. And I went, oh my God, it's Delaware. I don't know why it's DC in my head here. But real quick for everyone in the chat, we're going to have a March Madness bracket open. And you could join right now if you go over to ESPN.com. If you're a member, okay? I'm going to send out a community post to all the members. If you're a channel member, you can participate in our March Madness bracket challenge. It was really fun last year. We had over 100 people do it. It was awesome. Our buddy Andrew, who was on the show for a while, won it. To become a member, you go to our channel homepage and you select join, okay? Go on the computer, select join on the channel homepage. You can become a member. It's pretty cheap. It's like $5 a month or something. But you have a pretty good chance to win. And we do giveaways. We try and do a lot of giveaways. What's going on? What are you laughing at here?
I'm reading the chat, and Ziggy's just absolutely roasting everybody in the chat. We've given him too much power.
No one's listening to the CTA here. So you can join. And also shout out to Steven Squires, who won our Pick'em League. I finally sent him over his prize today, which was pretty good.
Congratulations.
Packers hat, Packers slippers, a little Visa gift card. So you have the chance to win in our March Madness bracket if you become a member here. Look at Ziggy here in the comment section. This is the he's on a rant here. It's a tirade. We appreciate everybody in the chat here who listened. We'll probably be back. And Ziggy, great job coming in today because he was supposed to be out. Ziggy took off till Wednesday. And next thing you know, Sunday night, he's zooming in. So appreciate you being here, Ziggy. Dominator asked for a hug. This is great. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Look, the free agency starts. It's going to be a crazy day, so we'll have a bunch of videos coming out.